trying to take the lead here. Reggie Bush, left side, look out! 30, 20, 10, forget it! Reggie Bush!
That's momentum for you. Reggie Bush can create a lot of it.
Bush on a linebacker, nothing that linebacker can do. Reggie Bush running the wheel route.
But the same kind of heart in both teams. Both of them played like champions tonight.
They never take a tough stance, but boy, they'll get involved. And it's like, hey, wasn't there a recruit when he wasn't supposed to be there, and didn't you feed him? And what? Aren't there coaches that are coaching a practice when they shouldn't have been? Of NCAA ineptitude. This is a picture of why this organization, the NCAA, needs to go away.
We see a glaring hole in the stadium, and there was a great injustice that was done. 2005 season that Reggie Bush had, one of the greatest seasons in NCAA history. He rushed for 1,740 yards, had another 478 receiving yards, scored 18 touchdowns. He was a unanimous All-American, won the Heisman Trophy. While he had all of this success on the field, he, along with a lot of other student athletes at the time, struggled heavily financially off the field. Meanwhile, the NCAA and the college programs raked in millions and millions and millions of dollars off of the backs of people like Reggie.
They the top NIL deals will pay college athletes as high as multiple millions of dollars per year. The marketing platform for these players has always been massive, and brands are paying crazy money just to be associated with
Light of NIL sweeping the college football landscape calls for Bush to get his trophy back and be re-intensified in recent years. Men saying, in quote, "Personally, I'm thrilled to reunite with my fellow Heisman winners and be a part of the storied legacy of the Heisman Trophy, and I'm honored to return to the Heisman family. I also look forward to working together with the Heisman Trust to advance the values and mission of the organization."
News there. Reggie Bush is getting his 2005 Heisman Trophy back.
It's long overdue. Reggie Bush deserves to not only have the trophy that is a symbol of what he accomplished and what he earned at USC, but he deserves to be celebrated amongst the greatest college football players of all time.
Never should have been taken from him to begin with, to be quite honest with you. And one of the greatest college football games I've ever seen was the national championship game between him, USC, and Texas. That's something that will live in the crevices of my mind forever. What a game.
With it, everybody. We all heard the news, baby. Let's go. After 20 long, hard-fought years, Reggie Bush finally is getting his Heisman Trophy back in his comfort and in his hands. This video was just to give a backstory for all who don't know about Reggie Bush in high school and college, because for me, my age, we saw him coming in at the NFL. We really didn't know him when he played for college. So this video is to give the backstory, to let us know all that happened, man. Shout out to Flimlo for the video. Appreciate you, dog. Like and subscribe to his channel. And let's get into the video, man. Hope y'all enjoy it. Let's get it.
Grinded. I showed up to work, was called on, I delivered. And it's unfortunate that that hard work that was put in, that was built not only by me, coaches, teammates, we all helped build this thing here. It's unfortunate that it was all torn down so easily with no factual evidence behind any of these claims. And so most recently, the NCAA has made a statement about me, accusing me of engaging in a pay-for-play arrangement. Which is 100% not true. Not only is it not true, but there's no evidence to even support that claim. And as they said before, it wasn't even part of the initial NCAA investigation. So this is a new accusation as far as I'm concerned. As if this were the reason why I'm not getting my Heisman Trophy back and why I'm not being reinstated. And that's not true. And that's what this lawsuit is about. It's about truth, getting the facts out, and holding the NCAA accountable, which is, I think, the first time maybe that, at least in my memory, that this is happening, of someone holding them accountable for their actions and for the things that they've done.
NIL deals. If he'd been allowed to earn money on his name, image, and
Damn. Bro, suggest that Reggie Bush will make $4 to $6 million annually.
But back then, the NCAA could strip everything from a player just for cashing in on a fraction of their actual worth. In 2005, Reggie Bush rushed for the most electrifying 1,700 yards and 16 touchdowns that any of us had ever seen. His running style had this flair that had previously only been seen in backyards, schoolyards, and video games. He also ran smooth routes and caught the ball like a receiver. So his 43 receptions for just under 500 yards was definitely no surprise and looked just as smooth as the runs. Reggie's biggest competition for the Heisman was Vince Young, another college great who went against Reggie in the national championship. But like he seemed to do pretty much every time he touched the ball, Reggie ran away with the Heisman votes and won it by a landslide. Dude had almost as many first place votes as his teammate Matt Leinart had total votes, bro. And Leinart finished 3rd place, so it's not a shot at Leinart. I just think it's a cool visual representation of how dominant he was. Reggie Bush is one of the greatest college running backs I've ever seen, but according to the record books, he's the greatest back I've never seen. As the NCAA took back dude's Heisman Trophy, vacated all his records and erased them from college history. Or at least they tried, because those who were around know exactly what we saw. Even heavy smokers won't forget this. The neuralizer for Men in Black couldn't get these highlights out your head. Dude birthed a generation of college fans, and then they tried to erase him. But what exactly did he do that was so damn bad, so evil and unlawful that he needed to be erased? There's a ton of misconceptions surrounding this whole thing.
One misconception is that he was paid by USC to play football. Reggie never got a dime from USC. A second popular misconception is Reggie was somehow paid by a sponsor, alumni, someone in the school. No one ever paid him. Reggie was never pay for play. Never pay for play. The violations that they found were very marginal violations. Loaning money for Reggie to fix his car, allowing Reggie to change clothes before a dope walker ceremony in a hotel room. Very, very minor things. And their investigation was based on the testimony of a man whose testimony is dubious at best.
So there was a dude named Lloyd Lake who was at the center of all of this. But oddly enough, a lot of the old articles just mention dude as a footnote. He usually enters the story at the point when he sues the Bush family. But as far as the money incidents go, he was basically there from the beginning. Here's the short version of the story. When Reggie Bush was 4 years old, his mom married a guy who was named Lamar Griffin. So Lamar Griffin was Reggie's stepdad, who essentially helped raise him. And by all accounts, it seems dude was a solid stepdad. As in the past, Reggie has said that he just considers him as his dad. So back when he was a kid, it was Reggie's idea to start playing football. So his parents signed him up to play some Pop Warner. At the time, his parents felt it was a great way for him to burn off some of the boundless energy he had. But by the time Reggie Bush hit 12th grade, he was the #1 ranked running back in the nation. And this fun little hobby meant to help Reggie mature was now potentially big business for the Bush family. If Reggie was coming up today, this would be commonplace. And dude could sign for millions of dollars straight out of high school, no problem. But back then, bro, a high school or college athlete wanting to see even a fraction of the money that they was generating was seen as something super sinister, bro. The NCAA fooled them. Back then, people believed that a college scholarship was more than enough compensation for any athlete to take, and that college athletes should be grateful if they got anything at all, while college coaches and NCAA execs bought their 3rd vacation home. Unfortunately for the athletes, if you came up in that era, the best thing for you to do was just pray you didn't get hurt. Pray that you beat the odds and pray that you made it to the league, because if not, you'd never see a dime from playing the game of football. But with all of that said, if you wanted to try to cash in early, your lack of patience on that front will oftentimes come back to bite you. It's been said that Reggie's family, like a lot of families in this country, were basically poor and had a lot of financial hardships. So Reggie's stepdad, Lamar Griffin, back in 2004, felt that his family had waited long enough and it was time to cash in. You meeting all these rich coaches and seeing all these rich boosters and all this salami tossed around, and I think it's pretty natural that once you start seeing that and seeing your kid contribute to it, most people tend to want a better standard of living for their family. But getting mixed up with shady characters trying to cash in a few years early, when you look at it, bro, it's not.
Bro, when you look at him, he look like he up to no good. He don't look like the type of person to hang around, bro.
really a great gamble. And seeing what Reggie's family got when compared to what they lost, I gotta say that Reggie's stepdad definitely crapped out on this one. So again, in 2004, Reggie's sophomore year in college, Reggie's stepdad met with a guy named Lloyd Lake. Now, Lloyd Lake is an ex-convict who some articles say was a family friend. Some say he was a businessman, but he was basically a hustler. So fresh out of prison, he runs into Reggie's stepdad. That Lamar's son, Reggie, will sign with his agency, or at least that's the information that was reported. Allegedly, in exchange for Reggie's future signature, Lloyd Lake fronts the Bushes $300,000. And I'm going heavy on the allegedly because
Whoa. So this nigga, Lloyd, the alleged felon,
Reggie has said that the NCAA only listened to one side of the story. According to Reggie, the NCAA never even did a proper interview with him or his parents on the situation. He says they instead relied on the words of Lloyd Lake and Michael Michaels, two convicted felons who had basically brokered all the illegal deals that the Bush family was said to be involved with. Another big part of the story, at least as far as the media coverage, was this house that the Bush family was allegedly given. But Reggie and his lawyers say that wasn't even a part of his punishment. Now, there was indeed a house that Reggie and his family were allowed to stay in, so I gotta be honest, given the rules at that time, I don't see how Reggie and his family would think that this wasn't against the rules. But it seems like the issue in this whole case lies with the fact that the NCAA, as they typically do, showed a complete lack of competence and didn't even include the house as part of the investigation. I don't know if they decided to keep it out because it wasn't an open and shut case, because it appears the Bushes weren't actually given the house but just allowed to stay there, and the amateurism rules was always shoddy and highly inconsistent, and maybe it would have been tough to enforce them there. But here's a clip of Reggie adding some context to the house situation, right? Here's what he had to say about it.
I never...
Whatever you say, bro, don't matter. 100K house.
Interviewed with the Heisman Trust, or we had a conference call. So they made a decision to take the Heisman Trophy based on a conference call and based on, you know, some information that was given that they basically got through the NCAA. The issue with that is the NCAA didn't do their homework. There was this house my parents moved into. The reason why my parents moved into this house was because they used to live in a townhome. They were renting this townhome. My parents come home one day, eviction letter on the door, they gotta move out. Not because they weren't paying rent, but because the owners weren't paying the mortgage. When they moved into this house, it was kind of like a short term, just to help us move into a place until they could find out where that next place was.
AKA a gift.
But moving into that house,
it's a gift, bro.
Into us as a part of me, you know, my name, image, and likeness being sold for whatever. I don't know what they think. The NCAA does not know that piece of information.
$3 million.
They have never, ever heard
$3 to $4 million.
Because they didn't do their homework. It's a sloppy investigation. Everything about the investigation was sloppy. They didn't do their homework. They didn't talk to my parents. They didn't talk to any of our family members, anything. They just got information, hearsay information, from two guys. One guy's name is Michael Michaels. Another guy's name is Lloyd Lake. Both these guys are convicted felons, and the NCAA did not care to check their police record.
Now, the whole thing eventually fell apart as Reggie just got bigger and his dad no longer wanted to do business with Lloyd Lake. So Lloyd eventually sues the Bushes and then works with the NCAA to take down USC and the Bush family. This whole situation feel in a way if it's indeed true that the stepdad got them involved with this convict. But not only did this whole situation fracture his family, what he accomplished on the field, which was completely unrelated to any off-the-field benefits, was all taken from him. At the time, it was common for the NCAA to come down as hard as possible against any student athlete who was trying to earn some money. But they would fight tooth and nail, supposedly for the purity of the sport and the student athletes and all of this other stuff. But it was mostly to maintain this unfair system that they had somehow finagled into law. Amateurism was the root of all the NCAA's power, and anytime it was threatened, they'd go above and beyond to crush the threat completely in hopes that they weren't challenged again. For decades, they wielded the power with crazy recklessness, so they didn't hesitate to use every drop of their strength to take out Reggie Bush. Like, they didn't think twice. They vacated all his stats, vacated all his records, snatched his Heisman Trophy, even forced USC to disassociate with dude for at least 10 years. That means remove all his jerseys and images from the campus. Any mention of him at all, completely erase it. Till this day, when you see these retired jerseys here on this field, there's a pretty notable one missing, but hopefully not for too much longer. But they did all of this for accepting what today would be basically a minor NIL deal. The rules was obviously different, so yes, you have to acknowledge that. But even after the rules changed, bro, they still held a grudge. Over 15 years later, in a completely different climate, they still wouldn't reconsider erasing Reggie Bush from history. A couple years ago in 2021, Reggie spoke to the Heisman Trust and asked if his 05 trophy could now be reinstated. But there was a small issue. In order for the Heisman Trust to do that, the NCAA would first have to reinstate Reggie's stats. So cool, they were on board. At that point, 16 years had passed, and now college athletes nowhere near on the level that Reggie was at in college are making that alleged $300K basically look like chump change. USC had already welcomed dude back into the fold, ending a 10-year disassociation with the USC star. But you think that meant something to the NCAA?
Need restitution.
Hell nah. After all that, bro, they was still like, nah, you're not getting the trophy back, and that's our final decision. But the reason they gave in 2021 is now the basis of this lawsuit. They said, quote, although college athletes can now receive benefits from their name, images, and likeness through activities like endorsements and appearances, NCAA rules still do not permit pay-for-play type arrangements. Then they continue. The NCAA infractions process exists to promote fairness in college sports. The rules that govern fair play are voted on, agreed to, and expected to be upheld by all NCAA member schools. But Reggie's new lawsuit takes aim at this quote, as he's saying there's basically a new allegation in there. Here's a quick segment from his lawsuit. In 2021, NCAA spokesperson Megan Durham told ESPN in a statement when asked if they would reconsider sanctions imposed on Bush that, quote, NCAA rules still do not permit pay-for-play arrangements. In fact, the NCAA investigation never found or even alleged that Bush was involved in pay-for-play. The lawsuit alleges this statement was false, defamatory, and made with malice. The NCAA clearly defamed Reggie Bush by implying that he was involved in quote pay-for-play. Reggie never accepted money or gifts in exchange for him playing football at USC. The hypocrisy demonstrated by the NCAA towards Reggie Bush is outrageous. Basically, in the lawsuit, they're calling the NCAA to publicly apologize and to restore Reggie's records so that he can recover his Heisman and assume his rightful celebrated place in college football history. So we'll see where this goes, but my initial thoughts are that the NCAA have once again set themselves up for an L. Not everybody agrees, but it's a lot of people who feel that the way they did Reggie Bush was over the top and unnecessary. A lot of people point to Johnny Manziel, who has had his own issues.
Hey, yeah, Johnny Manziel wasn't rocking with it.
Spoken about how it was wrong how they did Reggie Bush. But he did also point out that the only key difference was that his quote-unquote illegal activity started after his Heisman season. Let me know if you think that is the case and also if you think it makes sense. But for the NCAA to still be speaking on this all of these years later, I do find pretty interesting. Personally, I think they're really proud.
So is Johnny saying the shit he did while he was playing, they should have took it, like if he was doing it while he was playing, they would have took his Heisman from him?